All right, perfect. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Noah Kuranga, and today I will be your host for today's Toastmasters meeting. It's just nice to see everyone here, besides a few here and there. It's nice to see that we have a few guests here. Raj, I know you texted me earlier, so it's nice to see you as well. With that being said, can I get someone to read the mission statement, which is at the bottom left-hand corner of the agenda? If someone can scroll down so we can see it. Perfect. Let's see. Anyone can volunteer to read it.
I can go, Noah.
Okay, perfect.
Could you scroll down a bit more? It's like turning off slowly. Okay. So we provide a supportive and positive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sourin. With that being said, I'll pass it off to our president, Slate Nations.
Thank you, Noah. Thanks for opening up the meeting. And I'd just like to welcome everybody to the meeting, just as Noah did. Thank you, fellow Toastmasters, new guests, and hopefully future leaders, established speakers. If this is your first time to Toastmasters, as you'll learn, Toastmasters is all about building your public speaking skills, as well as all communication skills and leadership skills as well. And I think it's a fabulous place to also just hang out, have fun. A lot of people have fun with it, especially in our table topic section that you'll see. Get really creative with it. I'm sure our Toastmaster could cover some of this, but just real quick, especially with guests, make sure that you mute your mic whenever you're not speaking and unmute it when you are speaking. And with that, I look forward to a great meeting. I'll pass it off to our Toastmaster, Justin, now.
Thank you so much, President Slate Nations, and welcome everyone. Good afternoon and good evening, whichever one you decide that it is, because it's in that transition time. And welcome to our Toastmasters meeting on this day, November 16th. We are almost done with the semester, so jump for joy, we are getting there. All right, we are going to go over the meeting format today and all of our reporters. So this meeting has 3 sections, as hopefully you can see on the agenda. We'll start out with our speeches today. Today we only have 1, followed by our table topics. Table topics is an impromptu speech section where each person is given some form of prompt, and then you can volunteer or be called upon, depending on the situation, to give a 1 to 2 minute speech. And all people can participate, whether you're a member or just a guest. You're all welcome. And then the last section of the meeting, third and final, is the evaluation section. So in this case, we will have our speaker evaluated, and then we'll have an evaluation of the meeting. And we'll also hear reports from our grammarian, our counter, and if necessary, our timekeeper. So speaking of reporters, let's hear from the first of our reporters to tell us about her role, Joann Sheats. Come on, welcome to the stage, Joann.
Hi there. Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. It's good to see everybody, and welcome to our guests. My role as grammarian today is to listen for grammatical issues, to listen for unusual or notable phrases. So that is what I'm going to be doing today as each of you speak during the planned speeches and in table topics. And I will give my report at the end of the meeting. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Joann. And next up, we have our timer for the day, and to tell us about what she's going to do and to tell us the different times, here is Courtney Scott.
Hi, everybody. So today I am going to be the timer. So I will be recording the time during speeches, table topics, and the evaluations. If you're worried that you are reaching your time, you can just look to the chat box, and I will give you a few warnings before it is your time, before you reach your max time. And so if you're giving an icebreaker speech, the time limit is 4 to 6 minutes. If you are giving a normal speech, the time limit is 5 to 7 minutes. And for table topics, the time limit is 2 minutes. And evaluations, it's 2 to 3 minutes. Thank you very much. Back to you, Justin.
Thank you so much, Courtney. And last but not least, we're going to go to our counter for the day to explain his role. And ladies and gentlemen, that is Noah K. Noah, tell us about it.
Absolutely. Can you hear me now? Perfect.
We can.
Okay, as an all counter, I will be listening to all the ahs or filler words that anyone say, and I'll keep a note of it, and I'll let you guys know your results at the end of the meeting.
Thank you so much for that wonderful report, Noah. All right, the screen has changed, which means we have transitioned to part 1 of the meeting, which is our speeches. Today, we only have one speech, only one, but I'm sure it will be grand enough for 3. So our speaker for today is giving her first time speech for Toastmasters. She's been attending for the past few weeks, and we've been so happy to have her. She's brought lots of light and laughter to the meeting, and her speech is going to be on karate, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And again, it's her first speech, so really excited. So everyone, please welcome to the stage, Katherine Lee. Go ahead, Katherine.
Thank you for the introduction, Justin. I guess I will just get started. Okay. So, trying to get into shape is a long and arduous process, though I suppose that doesn't need to be stated. I think the best way to get and stay in shape is to do a sport of some kind, whether that's bicycling, rock climbing, dancing, or soccer. For a while, my sport was karate. At that time, it was less because I was not interested in it and more just to try to quiet my parents who kept pestering me to pick up a hobby of some sort. And while back then I was disgruntled and annoyed every time they brought it up, now I wish I had done more. There wasn't any specific reason I chose karate. It was more just so because a flyer happened to come in my mail, and when my parents asked if I was interested in doing so, I decided to say yes. At the time, I pictured myself doing it for a short trial run before quickly quitting it, as I had done with many others. But this one was not so quickly to be shoved aside. A main reason why I stuck with it for so long was because I had a friend who did the sport with me. Having a friend there made the experience much more fun and enjoyable, and had I not had a friend with me, I probably would have quit it much sooner. However, after a year passed, she decided to quit. But despite that, I decided to continue because at that time, it had already been about a year, and so it had become somewhat of a routine. I still didn't particularly like it, but I didn't hate it either. And I was also fairly good at it as far as forms and technique went. Soon, 1 year became 2, and 2 became 3. But as time went on and I became a higher and higher belt level, the focus became less and less on the arts part and more on the martial part, with the coaches constantly reminding us to compete in 10 competitions and incorporating sparring into every lesson. And although I was pretty good at forms and technique, sparring was not something I was a natural at. Although I disliked it both because I was bad at it and for the simple fact that I didn't like to fight, I still went to every lesson and followed every instruction. But months passed, and I still didn't seem to be getting any better. I just couldn't read when to attack and when to defend, when to kick and when to punch. It didn't help that I wasn't very aggressive or competitive, and so I wasn't really motivated to win. I simply went, attempted, failed, and retreated, only to repeat for the next lesson. Eventually, another year went by, and I decided to quit. I told myself it was because a new school year was starting, and so I'd be busy with new classes and new clubs. But really, it was because I was tired of being bad and not making new progress. Some might find it strange or even incomprehensible that I could be bad at something for an entire year, even after attending every single class. And you know, they're right. It's just talent to be bad at something for so long. But really, looking back on it now, I think the real reason that I didn't make any progress despite attending every lesson was because I didn't really try. Sure, I went to every lesson and followed every instruction, but I did so half-heartedly and without any real attempt to improve. I knew I was bad and that I didn't like it, so I decided it was better to keep being bad than try to be good and make a fool of myself if I failed. I didn't want to go through the process of being bad and making mistakes before getting better while everyone around me was doing fine. And it was that fear of judgment and of embarrassment that kept me from trying harder and being better. And I think it's that fear that many people experience and grapple with, and it's a hard emotion to overcome. But I think that's an obstacle that once defeated, frees a person up to many new possibilities and higher limits. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that wonderful speech, Katherine. That was a great speech. Really, that was an interesting twist. I was not expecting that, so it's really cool. And I love the spin that you put on that. So great first speech, and looking forward to the evaluation section. All right, at this time, we will take a few seconds, perhaps 30 to 45 seconds, to give Katherine some feedback. So you can go to the chat panel and you drop down to her name. Don't send it to everyone, just to her. And then you can send her a message and tell her how she did. You can also give me feedback throughout the meeting. So as my role as Toastmaster and any of the section leaders of today as well. So we'll just take about 30 seconds to submit that. All right, so we will now move into the second section of the meeting, which is our table topics. And to bring us into table topics and guide us through and help us emerge on the other side alive and whole and having grown by leaps and bounds, as always happens with these sections, let me introduce to you our wonderful Sergeant at Arms for this meeting. Here is Noah K.